My name is Mr. Gene Poole, original member of the Headshots crew, Twin Cities Hip Hop, Full Circle, Dynospectrum, Department appointed public officials since 1992. The way that it would make us feel when we got together and we would bust flows and ciphers and stuff. And it was the togetherness that it would bring, even though normally we wouldn't like each other, but through the medium of rhyming and hip-hopping and shit, we found a lot of, can't really say community, camaraderie, somewhat brotherhood, you know, that allowed us to stand together and break through in a town that just wasn't acceptable. Unless you had a guitar, you know, you had a band or whatever, you want to do a gig, you pretty much do it, but if you don't have that, it's kind of tough. Fast forward 20 years later, here everybody has got a spot to record in, everybody's got a spot to perform at, you know what I mean, and nobody really understands where it came from. So what inspires me the most is just the possibility that whatever you think of, whatever you envision can happen. It absolutely can happen. If you don't, you know, if you look around you and say, well, I don't really like what's going on or whatever, it's up to you to do something about it, even if it's just spitting an idea at another person, you know what I mean? That's all it comes down to, and that's what we've done. The possibility that you can affect worlds outside of your own is quite inspiring alone. Just actually going somewhere outside of Minnesota and having people accept your style of performing or rhyming as if it was exceptional. You know what I mean? I guess that would be probably my best memory, is whenever I left, probably at the early, you know, around the early times, mid-90s and stuff, and we'd all jump in Brent Sayers' little MPV. He had a little Mazda MPV, and we'd all jump in there, me, Musab, Slug mostly, and even DJ Abilities, and we'd like drive and do Rhyme Sayers collective shows and shit. And the way that they would accept us and the way that they would kind of embrace our styles and the way that we flowed was pretty interesting, and kind of, you know, it gave us that extra incentive to come home and work harder at this shit. My family really just didn't really take it serious at all. I could talk about it, I could be doing it or whatever, but we just never really talk about it, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's cliche because everybody's making fucking music, you know? Back in the day, it was different, you know, I was doing it and stuff, and it would probably be exceptional, but nowadays when people ask me what I do, I don't even tell them. Even if my family's asking, you know, you still do music, I'd be like, you know, a little bit, you know, not really though, because they would think I'm crazy for doing it this long and not really breaking into any, you know, professional level. Well, you're not getting paid, well, how come they're making money on TV? I'd be like, well, I don't know why, but I'm not really worried about it too much. My grandmother, who's probably the most insane one out of the whole fucking family, she's probably the only one that I talk about, and she thinks that rapping is the most devilish shit you can do. Like, she is like, if you're involved into that, you're gonna go to prison, you're gonna die and go to hell, and all that other shit. So if I'm doing that, it's bad. So just don't tell my grandma I'm involved in any rap. Crazy ass, stupid ass people give me inspiration to write brand new shit every single day. And I can't really give people all the credit, so I'm just gonna give my subconscious the credit. I get inspiration through my subconscious all the time. I look inward so much that I'm finding answers about this world. And also with this sound chasing situation that I got going on, I'm always looking for the next sound, the next arrangement that's gonna strike a statement, you know what I mean? Inside, when I crack off writing, you know, I just don't write. I don't sit there and write with a pen. So it takes a certain kind of inspiration for me to make songs, and I make songs at a rapid rate. So my inspiration comes from within, really deep connection with, you know, whatever else is going on besides this material world. I know there's something else going on, so that's where I pretty much draw my shit. There was a crew called Full Circle. That was me, Lance, and a dude named Doobie, and we were St. Paul hard hitters. There was another crew called Abstract Pack. You know, the main members of which hooked up with my crew was Cess, Glow, you know, and they came together and wanted to come up with a group called the Headshots because instead of always butting heads, we could come together and, you know, do that type of shit. So we did that for a while, and so we'd have showcases, we'd do shows, and then we'd come to Minneapolis and do some shows, and then during these showcases there'd be, you know, some groups, like say there was a group called Urban Atmosphere, and that comprised of Slug and Spawn, and then you had like Black Hole, and you had Felipe, who was now Los Nativos. I mean, you know, you had some pretty solid members back then. You had Musab, who I went to school with. Like, me and him went to school way before we even got together on the Dynospectrum shit, even before we got together on some Rhyme Sayers Collective. You know what I mean? We were like close peoples. And so we would have these headshot meetings, get together, and loosely people would start coming more and more. Brent Sayers ended up coming to the headshot meetings, and at the time he was doing the production for Glow and Cess and the Abstract Pack. So we would all be together and shit, hashing out ideas, and, you know, Stress would be like, well, Stress is Brent Sayers. He'd be like, well, we're gonna record some Headshots mixtapes. Since you guys are Headshots, pretty deep. You guys, you know, I'm doing it hard. Why don't we just record them at my house, whatever. He had the facility. We did it, and then from shows and shit, just from hype, people coming to the shows all the time, and it was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was getting more and more serious. People were taking it serious. And we made the Dynospectrum album. Slug dropped his first album. Musab dropped his first album. You know, from the last Headshots mixtape, I suppose, was like Industrial Warfare was the end of the collective, and then Slug went on and did the 7, and that was like, you know, that was like the last Headshot mixtape. And then from there, you know, they did their solo albums. I was going to drop mine around 97, but things went crazy in my life, so I had to leave. You know, I went to New York and stuff. But now that I'm back, I've got my feet back, I've got my rhymes back, I've got my beats back. I can just hopefully leave a legacy of solid, you know, follow through. You know, when you say you're gonna do something, do it. You know, don't sit up there and lie to people. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to your family and say, yo, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and then 2 years from now you do something else. You know, if anything, I want them to know and be like, that guy right there, he stuck to his shit. That's what he was doing. He stayed true to that. He helped develop something that was long lasting, you know, that other people could take and paste it onto themselves and give themselves some livelihood that felt like it was about something, you know, that felt like that they were about something bigger than just working, eating, sleeping, shitting, fucking, you know, all that type of craziness. But there is something more, and it's about a message, and we have to connect to a higher consciousness as a planet. And if we keep wasting everything on distractions, and music is for that. It's a tool for enlightenment, but it's being used as a distraction. So I don't give a fuck if they want to stop me, if they want me to stop making music and all this shit. I'm never gonna stop. I don't give a fuck. You know, I've been through trials, you know, I've lost freedom and stuff like that, but nothing's gonna stop me. The devil himself could say, I need you to stop what you're doing. I'm gonna say, well, I need a better reason. But other than that, I'm gonna be using this fucking tool to just, you know, open people's eyes up to other ideas and shit, open people's minds up, you know. I don't give a fuck. And plus, not only that, I'm gonna charge the crowd. Every time I get the mic, I'm gonna charge the crowd. Every time I do a show, people are gonna get their money's worth. You know, any album that I put out, I'm gonna put out a fucking good album that people can say like, oh, I have to change my style now. You know, make it more like this dude.